Hi, Pat. This is Dev.
Hi, Dev. Thanks for joining. Mayank.
Pat, Rob Wright's on from Nokia.
Rob, and John?
And John Gilbert's also on from Nokia.
Okay, well, it looks like Mike.
David, Nokia.
Oh, perfect. Okay, well, Mayank, I'll let you kick it off and then we'll go from there. Mayank, did I hear you? I'll tell you what, let me just go ahead and start. And Mayank, you want to jump in, please do so. So we really appreciate the opportunity to speak to the APCO community. Obviously, mission critical networks is very important to us all, especially in California, where we've experienced some very traumatic year due to COVID and forest fires and such. So we're going to be talking about our next generation 911 network solutions, and I'm going to be talking about the backhaul piece of that. And Dev Kalas, I'm going to slaughter your name, sorry, Koslaw, is going to talk about our 5G LTE solution, and then of course take questions as see fit. But and then we'll be providing our contacts for Mayank and his team if you have any further questions. We do have John Gilbert and Rob Wright on the line here to take questions as related to the technology questions while we're giving a presentation. So if you have any questions, please reach out and use the chat forum, and we'll try to get all those questions answered.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Some technical issues. I don't know what happened before, but I'm glad you can hear me now. Sorry about that. So first of all, thank you, Pat. And before we can get into that, thank you, John, thank you, Manny, and the entire APCO Association for hosting and setting up this virtual event. I'm glad to see our public safety community, and I see that there's more than 50 participants still on, so I'm glad to be here. But to Pat, just to piggyback on what you were just talking about, that as I guess from a California standpoint, I think Nokia is pretty much working with almost each and every entity in California from a public safety standpoint, and we are very glad to be a part of our APCO Association, as well as glad to be here today. What we want to talk about is basically going to be around our next gen 911 networks and where pretty much the technology is going overall from a public safety end-to-end backhaul plus LMR standpoint. And on top of that, what we are hoping to cover a little bit towards the tail end of the presentation is going to be how this broadband initiatives, I'm sure everybody on the call is hearing or reading about it these days with what's going on with our digital divide initiatives across the country with the CARES Act. So Nokia is heavily involved with those initiatives as well. So we do have a little section in our talk here towards the end where we would like to share some information, and hopefully it will be helpful to the team here. So that being said, I know we only have like 45 minutes left. So Pat, I'll give it to you. And then please feel free to chime in, everybody, any questions, chat window, or if you guys have any questions you want to talk. So please feel free to interrupt anytime. So thank you again, and glad to be here.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Mike. And beginning, I guess, before we talk about the actual Nokia solution, let's remind everybody who Nokia is. Nokia, we like to say, creates the technology to connect the world, and that's really a true sense of what we do. We're not a single technology player. We bring a lot of solutions to the table. Certainly a large company, 26 billion, 144 billion in R&D investment over 2 decades. We are, of course, known for our 4G and 5G applications, and we're a leader in the global markets as for service providers and mission critical networks. And of course, we're home of the famous Bell Labs, where, you know, the organization that gave us the transistor, gas lasers, programming, C language. I mean, a ton of innovations brought to the world by Bell Labs. And if you saw the notice yesterday by NASA, Nokia will become the first ever cellular provider for the network on the moon to support their efforts to eventually go to Mars. So now maybe we ought to change the title from "We can create the technology to connect the worlds," so to speak. So some really fantastic things going on at Nokia.
Just a quick comment there. If anybody is interested, we're looking for people to do sidewalks. I'm just kidding, but no, we are going to the moon.
Not signing up for that. So let's talk about, as Mike mentioned, the broadband era we're in, and it's really the broadband and Internet of Things era, and it's beyond voice. And it's getting that IP-based digital services that provide the public safety operations group the situational awareness that they need. And I'm going to talk about the Nokia backhaul network part of that, where we connect, we prioritize, we protect, and we control that. And of course, that's to provide the high resiliency, high mission critical network that you need to connect the dots, so to speak, and provide you the communication needs. So let's kind of look back where we were. You know, it used to be that voice was all that was needed in a TDM world, you know, DS1s, DS3 sonnets. We clearly saw beginning probably about 8, 9, 10 years ago that this was not going to be the architecture to migrate to support all these applications needed. The cost and the scalability just wasn't going to be, it was just prohibitive. So now you move into a packet world, and this packet world becomes the basis for the network. And you have to ask yourself, where's your network going to be in 10 years? Is it going to be able to support the things like geolocation, connected car connectivity, fire detection, video surveillance, biometrics, traffic light control? I mean, the drones, the list is just going to keep growing. And with that list, you know, it just exceeds what could have happened in the past. The IP and PLS network, and specifically Nokia's solution, support these needs today and into the future. So to tell you that it wasn't just a Nokia thought of where this world is going, I focused on microwave radio because that's my business line that I focus on. And I look at the Dell Aura market data. Now, of course, they do Dell Aura market data for optics and routers and RAN and all the other devices well too, but I took a snapshot for North America as it relates to the 3 architectures that's supported by microwave radio. And I think you'll see the view that is coming, and really is here. So this shows the 3 architectures. TDM, that's a radio product that only provided DS1s, DS3s, OC3. You had a hybrid radio, which was a radio that kind of took a TDM side and an Ethernet side and put them together. Our MDR 8000 in 2005 we released was a hybrid radio. And of course now with the packet radio, in our case Wavens, is the baseline for all services on top of the packet layer, the Wavens product line. And you see from the inflection point back in 2014 that packet-based architectures have taken over the market. And by 2019, it's grown to 69%. And then in 2024, it's expected to grow to 89%. So clearly the world is moving on to packet. Now you can decide, depending on your network, whether you want to carry your Ethernet layer 2 solution or a more sophisticated layer 3 IP and PLS. Predominantly, we've been seeing a migration to IP and PLS. So I'm going to talk about some use cases, and then we'll get into some actually customers out of California that have implemented these. But I'll talk about the mission critical application need for broadband networks, the prioritization of those circuits, simplification and automation side of this and what this looks like. And then we're going to briefly touch on, is your network ready for 5G? And then Dev's going to jump in right on that on the following presentation. So if we look at the use case on the first exercise, unfortunately, this is getting too close to home, let's say in California, you have a network, is a residential area is being impacted by fire. It's already taken down one link. Your network's reroute around it, and lo and behold, you have a backhaul that comes in and knocks out the fiber going between. Now, in legacy networks, that pretty much would have killed you. Most networks protected for one fault, maybe two. But getting around 2 and 3 and 4. Now, this is the value of an IP MPLS network. Your network grows from a ring topology or tree or linear network to a meshy network. And that fast reroute capability and deterministic traffic management allows you to meet those very fast reroute times of less than 50 milliseconds for mission critical networks. You have to ask yourself, can your backhaul network do this today? If not, you should be thinking about that. Second use case, very similar. Again, a fire exercise. And we know what happens when you have an exercise where you've got to send the crew out there to fight a fire. You have a lot of resources go into an area, and all of a sudden the bandwidth capability just exceeds what the pipe is built for. Well, what do you do in the case? In the old world of a TDM world, you didn't have a choice. Your bandwidth was your bandwidth. Now, because the efficiencies of a packet IP network, you can actually prioritize that traffic. So the voices you can say can get through. Maybe you want camera to go through, and you had in the network some low priority data administration backup going on. Well, that goes away, and you want to make sure your broadband connection to your first responders gets through. So now you have more control over your network to say this definitely has to get through, and I've got to optimize the pipes and the traffic that I have going to that location through there, and you can do it real-time, fast, autonomously. So this is the value of an IP MPLS network. And I asked the question, does your old network do that? I already know the answer, it doesn't. So the other advantage of going to an IP MPLS world is simplifying to some respect the multiple vendor scenarios, or getting it down to a manageable from an operational viewpoint from the people who have to watch the network. You know, our NSP product that we'll talk about, Network Services Platform, does this extremely well, beyond just network management. But here's the idea is simulating, taking multiple venues and reducing the number of elements in the network, simplifying the network, but also giving you that visibility and control over those many services that are allow you going to be optimized for the needs at that time to meet your operational KPIs. And, whoops, excuse me. And then a similar case in operation. So what the IP MPLS packet world brings to the table is, in the past you had all these dedicated entities wanting their own communication link, water, firefighters, police, emergency, all connected using their own resources, dollars, facilities, to create a network. Well, growing to a world where the situational awareness capabilities grow exponentially and you need more bandwidth, and funding is not unlimited, as we know, the efficiency brought by a packet network allows you to have a common network area or network, allows you to put these services on top of it and prioritize and share the network between the entities, thus making better uses of the resources available at the time and optimize the network. So, and then in this final use case, in this final use case, I talk about 5G. We know FirstNet is here, and Nokia is a big piece of that. And working with AT&T and that side of it. But 5G going forward will and is flowing into the mission critical space, private LTE. Again, Dev's going to hit this very well. What you have to ask yourself is, your network got the backhaul solution to meet these critical needs going forward? That's the important part, because you want to be able to take advantage of these new features coming down the road. So with that said, let's take a look at a couple examples of customers in California that have moved in this direction. And we look at the county of Riverside, and the county of Riverside is the fourth largest county in California by population, some 7,300 square miles. And it was had a legacy MDR 8000 Nokia network, and they saw the writing on the wall. They see the need to go forward in an IP MPLS network. and upgrade their system, upgrade their backhaul, protect their, of course, their legacy TDM networks as well, but increase throughput and add services onto the network. And they chose, and we implemented Nokia's backhaul solution of Wavelength microwave radio with the 7705 service aggregation router. In this case, particularly with the packet microwave aware card in the router, which is a unique device that I'll talk about, and having the umbrella network services platform monitor it all. So Nokia designed, engineered, constructed, installed, and commissioned the full network. Now the county is gaining the benefits, lower total cost of ownership, smooth transition from TDM to IP, making sure that broadband underlying infrastructure is there to support all their data needs, including voice, and those critical services. And so they're ready for the future, and they've implemented it. And talk about the second one that did this as well too. City of San Diego is the 8th largest city in the United States and is the 2nd largest in California. And certainly some geographic challenges on the border and around the whole state of California. So they have definitely some unique requirements, and they wanted to enhance the responsiveness of their emergency services and municipal departments. Again, they saw the message, they saw the writing on the wall that transitioning to an IP MPLS network was going to be coming. And how do you seamlessly do that while supporting those mission critical services and not disrupt what they have to do while implementing this new technology. And again, we came in with our suite of solutions of the 7750 service router, the 7210 service access switch, the 7705 service aggregation router, our Wavelength microwave radio platform, and again covered by the network services platform. Again, design, engineering, planned it, licensed it, installed it, and commissioned it. So wonderful solution. And again, they too are receiving the benefits of a more efficient network, enhanced reliability, improving municipal services, and excuse me, better services. So now I'd like to go into the actual the individual pieces of what we call the Nokia NG911 backhaul solution, and that's the Wavelength microwave portfolio to begin with. And this is a solution that supports anywhere from 4 gigahertz up to 80 gigahertz, 40 megabits of traffic, all the way up to 10 gigabits of traffic, whether it's non-standby or hot standby or multiple channel lag. We support it all. We also support the configurations that are typically seen in the microwave world, which is electronics only on the tower, electronics indoor, outdoor, electronics only indoor. We support all those. We also show a piece of the IP MPLS family here because there is some pieces of integration in there. And just to show you the advantage or demonstrate the advantage of how a large company with different business units work together, the shelf on the MSS 8 up in the lower right-hand corner is the shelf the same for the 7705, or initially in the initial development was. So we share technology. That's the advantages across business lines in large companies that take advantage of knowledge from different business lines. So that's incorporated and used and started as the base point for our MSS 8 and Wavelength platform. Then talk about the 7705 service aggregation router product family. Now, our IP and optics group has a vast more portfolio of router solutions and optic solutions than what I'm showing here. This is just typically what we end up selling in the mission critical space. We have terabit routers, you know, if you want to go that far. So this is just a small snapshot, and I encourage you to reach out and find out more about our full portfolio. But here we have the 7705, and this is a highly resilient, redundant, hot swappable card solution, carrier Ethernet or layer 2, layer 3, doesn't matter. Typically, what we see in the most is the 7705 router, SAR-8 router. It is kind of like the Swiss Army knife of routers. It has low-speed interfaces and high-speed interfaces. So we go in there and we're doing channel bank and M13 replacements, removing components from the network, getting you into an IP-based world and making the network more redundant. Additionally, there's been special development done for the mission critical network. It's specifically the SAR-HM in the right side of there with the FirstNet AT&T. Here's a device specifically developed for the private LTE network for FirstNet to provide the WAN to LTE communication network for LTE. So definitely investing in this space. And this is probably one of the most common applications I see in public safety as it relates to our implementation. This was a solution which is an integrated microwave router solution using the 7705 SAR-8. It has the packet microwave card in it, which we like to say makes the network microwave aware, because we know microwave networks breathe, they're analog and things happen in the atmosphere. Well, we want a router that's smart enough to know what's going on. And by integrating these two devices together, we actually remove components from the network. In our case, indoor shelf, let's say, for the indoor application. And now we've made the network more reliable, and these integrated devices look like one network element, and network element management from the NSP. All this is simplified, but you still get the fast reroute, 10 millisecond detection, switching times, switching under 50 milliseconds, all in one network element. And then I'd like to close up the portfolio discussion with coverage of the NSP. Now this is focused on microwave, but it's really, the NSP does much more than that. It's not just a network manager. It automates, it has machine learning, has analytics in it. I'm showing here this very simple view that shows the network management pieces coming from the performance management items coming from the radio. It's aggregated in, it's analyzed with baseline path loss data for your network, so you can always compare between the two. It generates reports based on hundreds of metrics that you want to look at. Utilization of a port, utilization of the traffic, how's my path doing on an annual basis, what's the RSL, the receive signal level doing? All this information is viewable to you. Do I have some automated workflows and machine language going on that says, wow, I may have an interference case here now. Help me understand if that's the case and what action I should take. All this is going to be provided by your network, by the network services platform. So much more than just a network management platform, a very sophisticated platform for managing end-to-end your network. And with that, I'm going to finish up with a real brief statement on a spectrum update. Nokia, much like APCO, has been very involved in the FCC with the latest notice of rules and rule reports and orders as it relates to introducing a Wi-Fi devices into the 6 gigahertz band. Again, Nokia and APCO and other entities have been very active in pushing the FCC to make sure that this is done not to interfere with our fixed services. And we got most of what we wanted for. We were pushing, obviously, Nokia to have automatic frequency coordination system for everything. Unfortunately, they came out and they did approve automatic frequency coordination for Wi-Fi devices that are standard transmit power, indoor and outdoor applications. That all of that working of figuring out what the AFC is going to be defined as is in working committees now. In fact, APCO is a big participant in that and is contributing, as well as Nokia is, on how that's going to be defined and what's going to work for the fixed services business. Unfortunately, the low power indoor applications is not going to be required to be controlled by AFC. So that's a concern. It's a new norm we're going to have to get to live under. I don't think it's the end of the world. Some are spreading fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I think due caution is definitely do. Network operators need to baseline their network and understand how their performance is, because in a year or so, whenever these low power Wi-Fi devices are operating in business, towers located nearby may experience some degradation in performance. That could be anywhere from not seeing anything to impact to traffic. So it really depends on topology and location of those devices. And if you want to see some very good Bell Labs simulation studies, please go to the FCC website for the report and order filings by Nokia, because we included a lot of those excellent Bell Labs simulations in our attempt to influence the FCC on the concerns we had. So in the key point, the final message is, for the VIX band, the FCC did not change the rules that fixed service is primary. That means we have legally rule of law. If our paths are interfered with, we have the right of the government to go tell these unlicensed devices to shut down. So that's the good news. And so for that reason, I've been talking to many customers, telling them, keep doing what you're doing. You know, certainly there's a new norm that we're going to have to live in. Continued standard practice. The 6 gigahertz band is a great high capacity, long haul band that we need. And we're just going to have to learn to operate in this environment a little more and keep our eyes open for those events and handle it when they come. So with that, I will hand off to Deb, who will talk about our NDAC and LTE 5G solution.
Thank you, Pat. The backhaul piece is extremely important and vital to what I'm going to talk about. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, hear you fine.
All right, awesome. So over the next 15 minutes or so, I'll be touching upon a topic that's very close to my heart and is also a very important topic for a number of cities and counties and school districts across the U.S. Are you guys able to see my screen?
No, we are not.
Okay, let me try again. How about now?
Yes.
All right, awesome.
You
So
may go in presentation mode.
absolutely. All right. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be part of this community. My name is Dave Khosla. I'm part of the Nokia Enterprise Business Development Group here in the US. I work with a number of enterprises, to assist them with their digital transformation initiatives, in particular, private wireless, private LTE, 5G, smart city, and Internet of Things. At this point, I'm leading a digital divide initiative to assist cities and counties to be able to address the digital divide issue, in particular to help them connect the unconnected across the US by cost-effective private wireless solutions. So over the course of next 15 minutes or so, I'll touch a little bit about how big the digital divide problem is, because there are some perceptions about what the size of the digital divide in our country might be, and whether it's an urban or a rural issue. I'll also touch upon what are some of the solutions that exist to be able to bridge the gap. Again, there is no one size fits all, but we'll touch upon, at least I'll share a few perspectives on that. Then in particular, I'll zero in a little bit on how Nokia can help you, your community, in addressing this very significant and very pertinent challenge. And then I'll summarize with some of the pros and cons of going towards a private LTE or 5G solution. And then some takeaways in terms of, at least my perspective on why Nokia could be your partner as you try to address the digital divide problem. With that said, let's jump straight into the magnitude of the issue. So there are really two important questions here. One is, what is the size of the digital divide problem in our country? And the second one, it is often perceived that it's only a rural problem. So on the left-hand side of the chart, what you see is different estimates in terms of people in the United States without broadband internet, which is defined as 25/3 by FCC in terms of the speeds. And interestingly enough, that's a very broad spectrum in terms of estimates. On the left-hand side is the FCC estimate, which puts the number at around 18 million. On the extreme right of the spectrum, you'd see some data based on a Microsoft study that was done in April of last year, which estimated close to 163 million people across the US who were not able to access broadband internet at the 25/3 speed. I think what is widely acknowledged clearly is that the FCC, data collection mechanism may have some challenges. And clearly, while we can't, put our finger on the pulse in terms of an exact number, I think what is widely accepted in the industry is that the digital divide, meaning people without broadband internet connectivity or without broadband internet subscriptions, that number is much higher than what we may perceive it to be. So clearly, we're talking about tens of millions of people here in the US still not having broadband internet. On the right-hand side is some data based on US Census information, which lays out the number of households without broadband internet in urban areas vis-a-vis the rural areas. And as you would see here, there is actually a substantial number of households in urban areas without broadband internet subscription. The issue is not only access, and I'll touch upon a couple of other key barriers there. But clearly, in all the discussions that I'm having with a number of cities across the US, there are quote unquote, internet deserts in most of the cities. So really two takeaways here, much bigger issue, and obviously it is upon us, the cities, the counties, and the private sector to work together to be able to address the issue. And it's not only a rural problem. The next chart here, again, this has been very widely exposed in terms of, our children, who don't have broadband internet at home. These are just two data points representing anywhere between 8 to 12 million children across the US not having broadband internet at home. And that poses significant challenges, for such students, such children to be able to complete their homework and also take online classes during the time of the pandemic. So again, a very, very important issue, and impact of the and outcome of the digital divide problem that we have. This particular chart, touches upon the fact that it is not only a connectivity or an access issue. This is again US-wide data, but in most of the cities that I'm having these discussions, the numbers are pretty much in line with what they're seeing. What you see here is percentage of students without internet at home through computer and the correlation to family income. It doesn't come as a big surprise, but in the poorer households, the amount of digital divide, is actually 2 to 4 times that of more affluent households. Clearly an indicator of the affordability challenge as well that exists in our country. So let's talk a little bit about COVID-19. So if you look at high-speed internet, the way I look at it is, it is really the electricity of the 21st century. High-speed internet or broadband internet is absolutely vital to, for everything that we do on a daily basis, right from education to carry, to do our jobs and even shopping and so on and so forth. And it brings growth and prosperity everywhere. However, millions of Americans are still not getting, this essential utility. What the pandemic has done really is it has brought the digital divide to the forefront, and it has really highlighted the importance of solving the digital divide problem on a more sustainable basis. So clearly, as I mentioned earlier, what used to be the homework gap for many students who had to complete their homework online and had to drive many miles in the evenings to the nearest Wi-Fi hotspot now has become a much deeper problem as classes have moved online. And this becomes now an issue, not only for the evenings, but also during daytime. And with the pandemic, of course, the public health regulations, there's limitations in terms of mobility, et cetera. On the right-hand side, again, is just another example, especially given the fact that non-urgent medical care has moved to telehealth. Many of our senior citizens and residents are unable to get access to medical care because of these reasons. Again, these are just two examples of how the pandemic has really impacted the digital divide. Again, the digital divide already existed. What the pandemic has really done is it has really brought it to the top of the agenda for many cities, counties, and school districts in particular to be able to address the problem. So let's talk a little bit about how do we go about bridging the digital divide. And again, this is there is no one size fits all because there are several reasons to in terms of the adoption barriers for broadband internet. I like to categorize this as a 3A problem. Access to broadband internet infrastructure is one of the major issues still, especially in the poorer households. There is a lack of reliable infrastructure and lack of reliable carrier networks in particular. But then there are two other main topics adoption barriers, one of them being affordability of devices and the internet service. And the third one being the actual relevance of the benefits of broadband internet. So there is clearly also an awareness issue that we need to kind of join hands in being able to address. My view is that the state and local governments, the cities and counties, along with the associated school district entities, can really play a decisive role in overcoming these challenges by continuing to prioritize digital divide initiatives and also collaborating with the private sector. In terms of some of the solutions, again, as I said, there's no one size fits all, different perspectives, to be able to address it. One is clearly there are federal stimulus funds, for unserved and underserved areas that exist. In the CARES Act funding, both for state and local governments, as well as for the educational entities, that has been made available. And a number of cities and counties and school districts have been joining hands in leveraging some of that funding to be able to address the digital divide and coming up with more permanent and sustainable solutions. We're also enabling, new business models such as public-private partnership, which allows the city or county to participate, through assets and very limited or even no cost contribution. That addresses not only the digital divide challenge, but also is able to address a number of the other initiatives from a city point of view relative to smart cities. And of course, from a cost perspective, we also see lower cost alternatives now available to you, including the private wireless, private LTE, 5G solution that Nokia is able to offer. So again, as I said, no one solution for the problem, but there are quite a few options that can be explored to be able to address this. Moving on, so I'm just going to zero in a little bit on what this private LTE solution is. A 50,000-foot level for this solution. So what you see is essentially a private wireless network based on a very robust and mature technology that has been around for several years, which is LTE. And the idea here is that a city or a county, along with the school, educational stakeholders, could invest in a private network, which can be leveraged for combined needs, both for the school and also for the city. And what you see here is, connect some of those radio, base stations being deployed, on school buildings as well as, on city buildings like fire stations and libraries. So we are engaged with several cities, counties across the U.S. and also in California, on this kind of a solution. The benefits are really twofold. By having this kind of a collaborative initiative between the city and the school community. One, it provides the opportunity to synergize and combine resources, most notably the infrastructure that I mentioned. and also it allows pooling of funding that's available to be able to address the problem. So I'm just going to zero in a little bit on the solution. What it is, it's actually a very simple solution, and it has really three building blocks. The first one is these radios, which are LTE radios, and they serve approximately 400 carrier networks across the globe. So these are carrier grade, highly reliable, highly robust, operationally mature radios, which are now available in the CBRS band, which was approved by FCC to be used by any entity pretty much. And the spectrum is available for free for this to be used. The second component of this is an LTE core, which is skinny down into the form of a server, just one server. And this is a very enterprise-friendly, plug-and-play, very easy to use and operate and maintain solution. And the third component of this is basically a customer premise equipment, or a CPE, which is essentially a router which converts your LTE signal from the outside into Wi-Fi inside the home, so that anyone with Wi-Fi devices, whether it's a laptop or a smartphone or a tablet, is able to access the internet. So since you may be wonding as to why this LTE solution was not more widely deployed by the cities and counties so far. And really, there were two main impediments, despite all the benefits of LTE. The first one was spectrum. The spectrum itself, for LTE, traditionally was very expensive. And for that reason, it was mainly adopted by the carriers. What has happened as of January of this year is that the CBRS spectrum has been approved by FCC, and at least half of that spectrum is available for free on a shared basis. And Nokia brings the spectrum as part of the solution. There is a function called a spectrum administrator, or an SAS, which we include as part of the overall solution. So that removes one major adoption barrier for LTE. The other adoption barrier for LTE to be more widely deployed has been that the LTE core equipment was fairly complex and did not scale down enough. So we at Nokia have also solved this problem by making this completely plug and play and enterprise friendly by this single server, as I showed, which now is already deployed in close to 200 networks across the globe for private networks. So basically, now what you're looking at now is a solution which brings all the benefits of LTE from coverage, capacity, performance, reliability, security perspective, and combines and brings it in the form of a very affordable solution. If you are like me and you owned a Nokia phone at some point, you might remember how easy it was to use and how hard it was to break. It is the same ease of use and robustness and reliability that is behind this solution. I'm just going to quickly segue into just one example. This is Bexar County in Texas, in the San Antonio area. They have been facing similar digital divide problem, as I mentioned before. So they are adopting this solution. We are rolling it out as we speak, for Bexar County in Texas. There are a number of initiatives ongoing in California, both for the cities and counties, as well as with ISDs, the school districts, for a similar solution. So I'm just going to kind of segue into summarizing the main benefits here. What you see on the left, you have now the ability to be able to have a private network, which actually is very cost effective and scales down even to the level of a school district or a small neighborhood. You can offer fast connection speeds. You can pretty much control the data that's and the devices. So that's one of the key aspects. A lot of cities want to be able to control the data and also have the ability to manage the content, which is very important from a student's standpoint. and it's completely plug and play and very easy to run, so it results in very low monthly costs. One of the disadvantages of the solution is some of the upfront site and construction costs can be significant, but only in those situations where you're unable to use existing infrastructure. The best practice that we're seeing across the board is the cities and school districts are joining hands to leverage the existing buildings, which really removes any kind of cost impediment for the solution to be adopted. And then in terms of future use for the solution, of course, you can provide student online classes. You can also have business continuity for city services, as your workers can have teleworking capabilities. Telehealth I touched upon, and the same solution then can also be used for smart city and IoT purposes. So just a quick perspective on why consider Nokia as your partner for bridging the digital divide. As I touched upon, we bring a very mature and very robust solution that is already used by over 400 carrier networks across the globe. It's a completely plug and play and very easy to use solution, very fast and easy to deploy. And you have investment protection because the whole solution is software upgradable to 5G, as and when the device ecosystem has caught up with that. And then we have flexible pricing models to be able to address to adapt it to your specific needs. With that said, I'd like to thank you for the time, and we'd be looking forward to the questions. Just going to flash the contact information both for me and for Mayank in case you'd like to follow up later, and we are looking forward to helping you with your digital divide initiatives. Thank you so much, and back to you, Mayank.
Thank you, Dev. Appreciate it. So hope this information was helpful, and hopefully this gave you a little bit more information on what's going on around the CARES Act, as well as from a digital divide